You just think you've seen a lot of them.
Good.
We'll be back off. So, anyway, lot going on in the world, and I think the economic side of this conversation, which all of you have more than just a passing interest in, whether it's the banking side or it's the manufacturing side or wherever you may find yourself, our veterans and the difficulty that they have transitioning back into civilian life, because the workforce is, as our participation rate's the lowest it's been since 1978. And it's interesting, I tell people, I say this is really interesting, the juxtapositions between the late 70s and right now. If you were, I'd been out of the Air Force for a year and a half or so. We had an economy that was on its back. Now we had participation rate that was at its lowest level. I don't know what it was to go back and find it at a lower level, but obviously it was an incredibly low level, 62-63% participation rate in the workforce. We had, obviously had just left the military, but I knew what was happening to our military. It was being hollowed out. We had huge reductions in force that were going on. You know, the Carter administration was not friendly to the military in the sense of keeping it where it needed to be to maintain the peace. We had our wheat. I happen to be a wheat farmer, so we saw our wheat embargoed from being sold to the Soviet Union. We saw our athletes boycotted by the White House from being able to participate in the Olympics. And so there was, I think the term that was used pretty often was that the country was in a real malaise. And I think about that now. We're seeing that same pattern, if you will. Participation rate as low as it was back in the late 70s. We know what's happening to our military. I mean, the chaos that's occurring in the world is because America has stepped back from participating and defending our interest in Western values. You know, whether it's what happened in Libya, the failure of our administration to engage in Egypt. We could have stopped ISIS in Syria had we funded and supported the Syrian rebels, and I think gotten rid of Assad at the same time. But my instinct on this one is this president was interested in placating Iran, and Syria is basically
that's just a sex story.
It's an extension of Iran, if you will. It's a state that's controlled by Iran. We could have stopped ISIS when they moved out of Syria into northern Iraq, into that Kurdistan region. One size fits all, and expect it to efficiently work. Not in healthcare, not in education policy. This Common Core issue that you all
trying to kill.
Good luck with it. We banned it in Texas because it's, you know, I trust your government here, your state legislature, your governor, your teachers, and your parents come up with a curriculum that will make this state more competitive. So, anyway, let me say thanks for letting us come and use the facility first off, and Mike, can we just open it up some Q&A? I think that probably is.
Sure. So, Governor, this is first off special thanks to Ed Doherty, who owns and operates this facility here. We're
He's working.
What's that?
He's still working.
He's still working, yeah. But believe it or not, this is a freezer facility, even though it doesn't feel like it right now.
We're using all the energy in the freezer.
Yeah, exactly. But this is a mix of, you've got elected officials, local elected
Other
officials.
states as well. Out of California, is because they're overtaxing them. They 3 years ago, I believe, they put a their total 13.3% state personal income tax. I mean, that's on top of your federal. And I want to say they moved it from 9% or so up to, I mean, it's a huge increase. So tax policy really matters. And these companies, we live in a world where they're very mobile. You know, even if you've got a lot of steel in the ground somewhere and they overtax you, over-regulate you, over-litigate you, you're not going to expand there. And I'll just anecdotally share with you one example of that. CK